Money Making Sense, the show that if money affects your life in any way, we're going to talk about it. I have today Jason Jensen. He is our certified guinea pig. He's been telling us all about his finances. And also actual certified financial advisor with DMBA, Shane Stewart. Now, Jason, we've gone over your income and also your expenses, and we found out that without your odd jobs, if you didn't have any of those odd jobs, you have $32 left at the end of every month.
Right.
To take care of everything, haircuts and shoes and all that. And that's really easy for you, isn't it?
Oh, it's a cinch, that's why I'm on this show. It's just to tell everybody how easy it is, and they should just do that.
Right. Okay.
No, yeah, obviously it's a struggle every single month.
Right. So with that $32, what are your top 3 goals? Tell us what your top 3 goals are that you want out of life financially.
Out of life. Okay, so I guess my goals, I heard a lot about getting out of debt. So yeah, that's one of my goals. My number one goal is get out of debt, because once I'm out of debt, quote unquote, then I can move on with other things in my life. And I guess honestly, that's one of the biggest things is I look at my debt, I look at my student loan. I don't even have that much. I really don't. But it's so overwhelming, the little bit that I do have. I have student loans. I have some car payments. I have a credit card that only has like $4,000 on it.
Okay.
So that's not a ton. But even then, I look at all those, and especially when I look at all of them together, all of a sudden, I become completely overwhelmed by trying to overcome that debt. So that's one of my biggest goals and biggest challenges is getting over this debt and how to do that. And I feel like I have to do it today. I feel like I have to accomplish that right now. What can I do? Can I sell a kidney so that I can pay off this debt? And that's one of the scary things for me. And I feel like I've just recently, like in the last day or two, since you invited me to come on this podcast, actually, I've been really thinking a lot about that. And I've been like, maybe I don't have to pay it off today. Maybe I can set up like a 5-year plan or a 2-year plan or a whatever year plan, but look at it and say, I can still maintain my lifestyle, because that's also goals, right? I want to pay off my debt, but I want to maintain my lifestyle. I don't want to have to give up everything in my life. I like having my Netflix account. I like being able to
kidney.
Yeah, and my kidneys,
Right.
I like being able to go out and, go to a nice dinner with my wife occasionally, or to buy something for the kids. I like being able to do those things and maintain my fairly simple life the way it is. I don't want to cut back anymore, and yet I want to be able to pay off my debt. And I feel like sometimes those two are in conflict with each other. Yeah. So focus on just my goals. I want to get out of debt. I want to at least maintain my lifestyle, and I want to be able to set aside money to be able to help my kids go through college. I mean, I have 3 kids that are full-time I'm financially responsible for. I have 2 other kids that are stepchildren that luckily I'm not terribly financially responsible for. They have college through their other family, so I don't have to worry about that. And yet I still want to help take care of them and provide for them.
When they're in your house, you're feeding them. You may
there's
get
definitely
them a Christmas
the monthly
present. You've
expenses.
got stuff. Yeah, definitely.
And so there's those long-term goals. And I guess, honestly, even more than that, way more than even having, I don't want to just give my kids, here's money, go to college. I want to learn how to be financially responsible for myself so that I can teach my children how to do that. Because the whole, feed a man with a fish, but teach a man to fish kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
If I can teach my kids, if I can actually learn how to be responsible with my money and get myself out of debt and take care of myself, then I can teach my kids how to never end up in that situation in the first place.
Good. Okay.
So that's one of my other big goals.
All right.
Yeah.
So Shane,
Yeah.
Getting out of debt, maintain his lifestyle, and set up funds for his kids. So how's he going to do that?
So I agree with the third thing you said there about the kids. If you never saved a dime for them for school but taught them how to manage their finances, they'll be better off. And so if you could do both, great. I would say the biggest priority for you right now would be the debt, because it's not significant debt, but as a percentage of your income it is. I actually looked at the percentage, and and found that
I would
is
actually like to point that out to my readers. That's one of my biggest problems, and that's why I feel like so pressured to pay that off, is because my wife and I have recently tried to find a house. We would like to buy a house because when it comes down to it, if I bought a house, I'd be paying just about as much, if not even less sometimes, than I would on rent for the same size of place. And yet I cannot buy a house because I can't get a loan because of my debt to income ratio. Yeah. My debt is bad enough for what my income is that I can't get a loan.
Yeah. So I agree that is your number one priority. I'd make that your biggest priority. Two enemies to getting out of debt are slipping back into debt, meaning you need to replace a tire or two on your car. Well, it might be debt. If you had a savings account, that would help that. And so setting up the savings will help that. And then also knowing what you spend is the spending plan. So if the highest priority is getting out of debt, there are two complementary things that need to be done first. And one would be continue to develop your spending plan. You've got a great start on this with your spreadsheet. I would just keep doing that, or use one of these. And I've got a few for you here. Mint.com, envelopes.com with the letter M, goodbudget.com, mhriley.com, and I can give all these to you. They are just different ways that you could go track your expenses and set up a spending plan. I love the word spending plan because you get to spend.
Right.
I don't like the budget. I like the spending plan. You're going to spend, just how are you going to go about it? If you get that set up, then that will prevent you from going over. Now, it sounds restrictive, but it's actually freeing. It's very
totally
freeing. Yeah.
That's what I found when I set up mine. What I call you call the spending plan, I call it the allocated worksheet, is I allocated. You already do all this stuff. You have to have, utilities. You're going to pay that. You're going to do the rent. Yeah. These are monies that you have to allocate to the rent. You have to allocate to your utilities. Yeah. So that's why I call it an allocated worksheet. And because, again, budget is such a bad word.
Yeah,
we don't use that. We do not use that word here.
And so once you've got that spending plan going, you will need to build two things into the spending plan. One is, and like Heather mentioned, if you have $30 left at the end of the month, okay, take that $30 and split it between a separate and dedicated savings account to build up the savings to eventually not loop back into debt again if you get that savings built up. And two, any dollar that you can get towards the lowest balance debt is great, because that's going all to principal and not to the interest. And so if you can take whatever that is, $30, if it's $32, split that between the new savings account and the lowest balance debt. If you just did those three things, if you just set up the spending plan and had those two components of it, you're well on your way. You are well on your way to getting this thing taken out. There's one other website I would suggest, and there's plenty like this, but the one I have been using is called powerpay.org. You take your debts, you take your 4 debts, you put in the balance, the monthly payment, and the interest rate, and it will organize them for you and it will even let you look at, is it better to do it lowest interest rate or highest balance? But once you do that, here's why you would do that. You would do that to see, as Heather suggested earlier, 4 months from now I can be out of this, and you all of a sudden realize, hey, I see a finish line. If you don't see a finish line, debt can be very oppressive. Mm-hmm. Once you see a finish line, and it will show you right on the screen where's your potential finish line for each debt, it will motivate you. And so if you use a site like powerpay.org or something like that, you'll be able to see the finish line. So I would say, again, if we recap this, a spending plan from one of these sites or your own spreadsheet, build into the spending plan those two things, a savings account and a debt reduction, or getting a little bit more towards your debt, and look at that debt being reduced on a website like powerpay.org. Don't do anything else. Everything else will take care of itself. Everything else will start to fall into place.
All right. Any last words from either of you?
Thank you both for having me on here and kind of helping me at least know that I'm kind of on the right track, and then giving me a little bit more resources so that I can continue on the right track.
Right. Yep. Okay. Great. Thank you so much to my guest, Jason Jensen, and to Certified Financial Planner with DMBA, Shane Stewart. Please subscribe to my show at Apple Podcast, Money Making Sense, and you'll never miss a single episode.
Thanks for being a Money Making Sense listener. Follow your common sense onto social media. Money Making Sense on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.